Coding Challenge Review, Expert, 7th of February. Let's see what we got today. So the first question, we pretty much already analyzed it, right, on Monday. So I'm just going to skip it. If anyone is interested to see how we solved that, just check the last review. Out of curiosity, I would like to see what you did here. So you can clearly see it got much better, right? So 5 of you managed to find an answer. Really good. Right, divide each number by the next one. That's the same thing, right? Such a coincidence. Same question again. Right, so yeah, I'll skip it. If you have any issue with that problem, you know what to do. And then, question number 3. That was arguably the most complicated one. Look at the results. Only Daniel and Mo managed to find an answer. So let's focus on it. Say it again? Cool. So let's create a function. Function are numbers consecutive. And then we're receiving numbers or digits or whatever, right? So, I mean, this is the typical question that it takes seconds to understand what the expectations are, right? So if the numbers are consecutive, return true. If they are not consecutive, return false, right? Quite good. So, what do we need to do here? As usual, I always do the same thing. Transform the number into an array of numbers and then reduce. It's always the same pattern. I attack the problem. I mean, apart from recursion, which is a bit special, the majority of the expert problems can be solved following the same pattern. So, let's do return numbers. So, because this is a number, let's transform it into a string. We can transform numbers into a string using toString. Right? After toString, I just have a number which is a string actually, right? But because I want to access each individual digit, correct, you can use a split, empty string, so now I will have access to each individual character. And now, I want to reduce, because I want to loop, right? I want to see from the beginning to the end if the numbers are consecutive. So, it's not a very complicated problem. There is a couple of things we should take into consideration. So, first of all, I'm going to assume that the numbers are consecutive. So, my accumulator will be set to true by default. And then, if there is an issue, I'll change it to false, right? That's my strategy. So, reduce, first of all, are consecutive. Right? This is the way I explain my reader, my colleague, that this will be the Boolean that will be eventually returned. And then, how will you call the second argument of the function? Of the reduce function? Number. Before going any further, number may be a bit confusing because we don't have a number. We have a string number. It's important. It's important, right? So that's why I try to make explicit mention to this kind of particularities on the variable names. Right. So then, we want to see if if 2 numbers are consecutive. So we want to compare each number against the next one. Because we want to check against the next one, first of all, we need the index. Do we need anything else? Correct, we need the array. Otherwise, we cannot access the next element, the next number. So, based on that, now, even though that may require some fine-tuning, essentially, the first thing I want to do is I want to check if number, I want to transform to a number, string number, plus 1 equals number, array, index plus 1. Does it make sense? Right? If one number plus 1 is the same as the next number, they are consecutive. Obviously, we could do if one number is the same as the next one minus 1, right? Whatever.
Or we can do it double equals without converting.
Double equals?
Equal twins. So rather than strict checking,
Yeah.
we just do a relaxed check on double equals.
Yeah.
Don't convert them.
Yeah, but you get a penalty on the elegance. Yeah? Remember, we should never use double equals. I know that in some cases it does the trick, but it's considered a bad practice to use double equals. So can anyone see any problem in this algorithm? Or will...
We need to check for the length.
That's correct.
Position.
That's correct. That's correct. If we try to evaluate that, let's see what happens. It doesn't work. Right? And it doesn't work because what happened on the last element of the array, right? So if we focus on the first example, once we're on element number 5, we're comparing 5 plus 1 equals 6 against what? Against something weird, right? Because there is nothing else on the right-hand side of the last element. So array index plus 1 will return what? Undefined, correct. What number of undefined will return? I think it will return not a number. Yeah? Which obviously it doesn't return true, right? So that's why it doesn't work. So the first thing we should do is we should check A. If index, if it's not the last element, right? If index is less than array.length, do we need minus 1? Yes, because index starts at 0, right? So if index is less than the length of the array, that means we're in the middle somehow of the loop, then check the numbers. Otherwise what? Otherwise, just call are consecutive. Correct, we need to default it to true. Will this work? That's not correct. That's not correct yet. It may work. I will be surprised if it works, but it may work. Correct. Yeah, that's a good thing. One of them failed. Can anyone tell me why the second example fails? And only the second one? Can you speak louder, please, Ashley? Are you talking to me? To the audience?
Ricardo, could you zoom out, please?
Say it again?
Could you zoom out? I only can see the answer, not the actual code.
You cannot see the actual code?
Yeah. On YouTube.
Ah, sorry. Yeah, that may help, right? Yeah, you got the actual code now on the screen. So I think the number was like 1, 2, 4, 5, something like that, right? Correct. It's saying it's true, but obviously that shouldn't return true, right? 1, 2, 4, 5, they are not consecutive. What's going on? It's not stopping anywhere. It's going through the loop from the beginning to the end. Because? That's correct. Poppy gets a point on the board challenge. Look at what happened. We start the loop on the left-hand side, right? What's the value of the first string number? 1. What's the index?
0.
Correct. What's the next element? 2. Correct. Are these numbers consecutive? Yes. We return what? 2. Correct. Iteration number 2. What's the number?
1.
Wrong. 2. Correct. What's the next number? 4. Are they consecutive?
False.
No. So we return false, right? But then we continue, right? We're not stopping. We just continue until the end. Next iteration, what's the number? What's the next number? Are they consecutive? Ooh, you see the problem, right? So we change the Boolean to false, but then we rechange it again because by coincidence, the last couple of numbers are consecutive, right? So the way to control that, and then different ways to check that, right? But one of them will be A. Keep checking if they're consecutive, and then we can keep talking about whatever you want, right? But the first condition is numbers must be consecutive, right? If at some point numbers are not consecutive, then that's it. Nothing else matters, right? Just give up. Right? So look at what we've done here. Break what? Break the loop. Well, we are not strictly speaking breaking the loop because we're still going until the end, but as soon as the are consecutive flag is set to false, it will never become true again, right? Because false and something returns?
False.
Correct.
False.
Correct. False and something return false, right? So if they're consecutive, then okay, fair enough. Then keep checking. But if they are not consecutive at any time, give up. So that works. It works. But even though it works, and obviously trying to solve all the indentation issues and stuff like that, right? So generally speaking, the way I like to indent that is, let's put a parenthesis, and then we can do and something like that, right? So condition number 1, condition number 2. So correct. But now we just have a subtle problem that I'm sure we'll be able to solve. Look, line 10 exceeds the maximum line length of blah, blah, blah. That's a classic problem on expert, right? Code becomes a bit long, right? It's fair to say that generally speaking, that rule is a bit strict. So in commercial software, the max allowed length is generally speaking between 70 and 80. But we're a bit stricter, right? Because I want you to focus and to make sure that your lines are very, very readable. So something that we can immediately notice is that this line is very long because we are transforming to number twice, right? And that's not even efficient because as we are looping, for each iteration, we transform to number twice. So we can do something. What I'm going to propose you is, before reducing, doing another iteration where we transform everything into a number. In other words, we can do that. If we do that, we know that we are already dealing with numbers. So then, look, we can rename it from string number to number, and we don't need to transform anything. You see? Much cleaner now, right? We just have numbers, so let's just play with them, right? So if we try that, still works, and no elegance issues found. And one more thing here. Every time you do that, and you'll do that quite often, every time you transform a string into a number, there is a shorthand, a pretty interesting shorthand in JavaScript, which is not magic. It actually makes a lot of sense. So you can transform line number 5 into that. It's pretty cool, right? And it's quite readable to some extent, right? So under the hood, this is essentially doing the same thing. It's just receiving a string number and converting it into a proper number, right?
Can we do the same for other types?
Converting it into a number.
Yes.
What type of types? Number to string.
Doesn't work out, right?
It should work. Number to string should work.
As in, just say string with an uppercase there.
Yeah, that should work. Yes, that should work. Correct, that should work, yeah. Cool, let's see if that works. Yeah, it works.
Is there any other shortcuts we can use as well?
Is there any other shortcut? I mean, anytime you receive an argument, A, and then you invoke a function foo out of A, right? Anytime you have this structure, you receive an argument and you invoke another function passing the same argument, you can use the shortcut. Yep. Right, so yeah, that works. You don't think it's really real? Okay, fair enough, yeah. Sometimes readability, it depends on everybody, right? It's something personal.
Can I ask a separate?
Yeah, of course.
You use reduce there.
Hmm?
Would it be reasonable to try and do a
Find?
find?
No. How you solve that using find?
You're doing consecutive numbers. So instead of just moving over the whole lot, stop when you non-consecutive.
Does find allows you to convert it into a string?
You have
Find the first one.
complicated.
Does find allows you to use index and array?
That's what, sorry?
Does find allows you to use index and array?
Index and array you need, I think so. Yeah.
It does.
I think so. But even though I believe you can solve it using find, I recommend you to try, and you will see how kind of monster you are creating, right? So this is a typical example that reduce is clearly the best approach, right?
Yeah, I think so if we use find, then we don't have to do that extra.
Okay, yeah, again, give it a go. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against that. I'm just telling you, please try it and say, yeah. Cool. So, and what you did here, look at Daniel, for example. Look at how simple what Daniel did. Look at that, right? That deserves some kind of analysis. So, Daniel. So he, say it again? It's short, no, it's short, yeah. It's more performant as well, that's correct. It's more efficient, yeah, I agree on that. So he says, okay, I got a list of numbers, convert them to a string, and then have an array of individual numbers, and then he's just checking, okay, so I'm going to iterate over the array using a classic for, you know, forgotten structures. It's not that forgotten for Daniel. And then if it's, look, he's subtracting, right? So he's doing if next number minus current number is different to 1, that means they are not consecutive, right? 4 minus 3, 1, consecutive. 4 minus 2, 2, not consecutive, right? If at any time the numbers are not consecutive, return false. Otherwise, if we are still alive, here, return true. Yeah? So that's very performant. It's very elegant. It's really good solution, actually. Yes, I just have two concerns. The first concern, not sure if it's the main one or not, but the first concern is, again, we are doing math operations with strings. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because even though it works fine here, you may have problems. Every time you need to add, you need to subtract, you need to multiply, you need to divide, you need to get the modulus between strings. Please convert them to a number first, right? It's much more elegant. This second concern, as we've discussed a couple of times already, is it feels a bit aggressive, even though it helps to have your code, to keep your code very, very concise and very, very short. It feels a bit aggressive to kill the function in the middle of a loop, right? I don't recommend you that. If you want to do that, you should put break instead. If you put break instead of return false, you'll stop the loop. That means it will be equally efficient. And then at the end, you can have a variable, right? You can have a variable called r consecutive equals true. If that rule is not matched at any stage, you can do r consecutive equals false and then break. So then at the end, you just need to return are consecutive. It's pretty much the same thing. Okay, you need to add one line more, but I think it helps to create or to keep our code as much sexy as possible. And Mo, well, Mo literally, he did what we explained at the beginning, right? But then he got a penalty, probably, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like he got a penalty on the max length, right? Which could be easily avoided by adding another iteration where we transform the string numbers into pure numbers. Any question, guys? Yep. Cool. So let's go to question number 4. Ooh, get the biggest difference. This is a typical question that it looks quite simple. It is relatively simple, but if you ignore the instructions, you'll fail 2 or 3 times, and you'll get a penalty on the accuracy, right? Because there are some small things we should look after. But yeah, let's ignore the details. Let's just focus on the main problem. So we got a comma-separated list of numbers that are strings, numbers that represented as strings. And then we want to calculate the biggest difference, right? So in other words, we need to take what is the smallest number, what is the biggest number, and then what's the difference between the smallest and the biggest number, right? It's not that complicated. So, first of all, we need to type the function get biggest difference. So then, how do we capture all the arguments, guys? Correct, we need the rest operator, because we don't know how many numbers do we have, right? Dot, 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 what? String numbers. Some, whatever, right? But let's make sure that you explain to your colleagues that, yes, we got numbers, but they're strings, stringified numbers. So, yeah, the first thing I would like to do is I would like to sort the array. So then I have the smallest number at the beginning, the biggest number at the end, right? So then I'll feel comfortable in that scenario, and I think you'll be comfortable as well. So I create a variable called sorted numbers equals. And look, I ignore the string because I would like to do the transformation straight away. So I would like to do a string numbers dot map number. You remember that a minute ago? So now I have an array of numbers, and because I have an array of numbers, I can do dot sort number A, comma, number B. So let's sort it.
If you're doing the sort, and if you're doing the proper number A, number B, I don't think you need to convert the number. Although it's good to,
You must convert. It's necessary. If you don't convert the strings to number, the first example will work fine, but as soon as you go to 2 digits, strings will struggle because, for instance, 11 will be considered smaller than 3. Right? So that's why we need to, it's a good way to remember, it's a good practice to always convert to numbers if we need to perform any math operation, right? Like at the moment, we need to sort an array of numbers.
in a bubble sort, if you do a number B minus number A,
Yeah.
That's not the pass in.
Sorry, wait a minute. Bala was talking. Say it again.
converts them implicitly. If you do a number B minus number A,
Yeah.
it converts them implicitly to numbers.
It converts.
It converts them implicitly to numbers at that time.
It converts, but not in JavaScript.
No, so if you're comparing them as strings,
Yeah.
greater than, less than,
Yeah.
then it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you do in that sort method,
Yeah, and the sort.
if you go number A minus number B,
Yeah.
it converts, which is what I've done actually. So you see my solution.
So
Yes, if you remove the number, if you don't map to a number,
right. So let's do a test. Let's do a test.
yeah, if you're giving arguments to a minus inside, then you don't need to.
Right. Let's do a test, guys. So I went back to DevTools which is something that everybody should do from time to time to experiment, right, with these kind of problems. So you have an array of 3, 11, 3, 1, 12, right? So let array equals. So then what you said, Bella, is that if you do array.short, and then we got number A, comma, number B, right? So if we do number A minus number B, it will internally transform into, which is a good thing. I mean, yeah, let's have a look. Yes, you're right. That's the trick. Correct. If we don't pass any argument,
I agree.
Yeah.
It should be converted.
Yeah. So you have two options. Either you leave it as a strings, which I still strongly believe that even though it works,
If you do without that, then it won't work.
yeah, but if I do dot map number, actually it doesn't work neither. That's interesting indeed, right? So no, it doesn't work, right? If I transform everything into a number and I short without passing any argument, that's still wrong, you see? So in other words, never trust the short without any argument, right? Even though JavaScript tries its best to determine what's the sorting criteria, I will respect failing when you pass strings. I may understand that, because alphabetically speaking, blah, 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 blah. But if we are dealing with numbers, that should work, right? And it doesn't. It doesn't. JavaScript, right? JavaScript. Exactly. That's how JavaScript is sometimes, guys. Right, so then, yeah. So again, back to the example. Let's just sort the array alphabetically. So not alphabetically, sorry. So from the ascendantly, right? So from the smallest minus to the largest. We could do it on the other way around, of course. Yeah, whatever works better with you. Right, so at this stage, I got a sorted array of numbers, which is a good thing. And then, sorry, I completely forgot what was the question. Yeah, so we need to calculate the difference, right, between the biggest to the smallest. So technically speaking, what we want to do is return, what is the biggest number, guys? How do you calculate the biggest number? What is that? Number what?
Well, the last one or the first one, depending on how it is.
Yeah.
It's technically 0.
0. Is 0 the smallest or the biggest one?
That's the first. It's the length liquid 1, I mean. So the array,
Yep.
and the array dot length liquid 1, that's the last one.
Yeah, correct. So if we want to get the biggest one, that will be at the end of the array, right? So we need to do sorted numbers dot length minus 1, right? Minus, what is the first number? The smallest one, on index 0.
0.
Correct. Let's ignore the elegance issues for now. Right, so that won't work because of several reasons. First of all, we are expected to return a string, and obviously that will return a number. So, how do we transform a number into a string? No, wrong. There are two options. Option 1,
Two string methods.
correct. Option 1 is to do toString. Yeah? Option B is, you know how we convert a string into a number, using number and then the string. We can revert the process using a string and pass a number. Yeah? So it's bidirectional, which is pretty cool, right? Unfortunately, because of a reason I never understood, even though we go to a string, which is pretty handy to chain several actions, we don't have toNumber. Yeah? I never understood why this is not part of the JavaScript standard. I hope one day someone will realize about that, but again. Right, so will this work? Yes or no? What do you think? I'll tell you, that won't work. Oh. Oh. Sorry about that. No, I was thinking on the next exercise. No, I was thinking about the problem. No, that's my fault. Okay, I thought too much here. No, that's correct. Yeah, so yes, the difference between the biggest and the smallest one, and that's it, right? I mean, it's not that complicated.
Is it not possible to do it with the math.max and min, and then just take it from the other?
Interesting.
They would be much more
Interesting. Yeah. That's in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's try that. That's a good thing. So let's do. So let max still. Yeah, we need to convert to numbers. Correct. So let's create a variable and then rate numbers equals string numbers dot map number. So here we got an array of numbers. So then we can calculate let max number equals math.max. And then what? Triple dot, correct. Now we need to spread numbers, as our friend Ashley will be presenting when? Wednesday, correct. So, yeah. Right. So math.max numbers, and then similarly we can get min number. Math.min, same thing, right? So then we can return string and then max number minus min number, right? It works. Nice one. So Dave gets a point on the board challenge for suggesting this very sexy algorithm. Cool. So yeah, so Daniel, for example, yeah, that's weird, right? That's wrong. So that solution is because he's assuming that the boundaries of the data is between minus 100 and 100. And that's not strong enough, right?
Someone did it like that before.
Yeah, and actually Itamar did the same thing. So then my question is, why, right? That's a smelly, because that means, I don't know.
Look at my answer.
Say it again.
Look at my answer.
Looks like to your answer.
Yeah, look at my answer. I can explain why I've done it.
I'm really confused now, guys.
Basically, yeah. So I understand the logic. So I've done this last time. I'm doing it now. It's you're just splitting the map. So that means you're definitely going to get a max and a min. So because maximum can't be a minus number, minimum cannot be a positive.
Yeah. So my main concern is not about the technical implementation, which I strongly disagree. I think that's bad, because as soon as we change the data, that won't work. My main concern is why 3 of you did the same thing, which is absolutely wrong and unacceptable. That's my concern, right? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The approach is wrong, right?
You haven't explained the elegant one. That's what it is. You haven't explained the elegant one. Only you're doing it now. So we're just kind of copying each other's answers from last time.
Trying to copy the answer from last time. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll.
It was a previous solution.
But previous solution from who?
From the expert challenge.
From me, I done it best, basically.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Something pending to be investigated, right? Anyway, that's wrong. I'm not even going to review that for 2 reasons. First of all, because someone copied each other, I don't know who, and then because it's wrong, right? So that's not the it's wrong. The logic is wrong. It works in this particular problem, but as soon as we change the data just a bit, it will fail, right?
It's the same. What you're saying is the same thing.
Sorry,
No. I think no. Go on.
if you're using a dot, why do we need to set? Why did they set a number? We don't need to.
I don't know. I don't mind. I'm not even going to review that, right? So then Bala, so he's sorting the numbers, and then local big difference. sounds a bit complicated, Vala.
Yeah.
You're sorting twice.
What I was trying to do was for each number, I was trying to get difference against all numbers, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
get the biggest difference. But it was a little bit overcomplicated.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah.
It's almost like running
Yeah.
low.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I initially thought of the solution and applied it to my.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Bala. And to me, anyway, even though I propose something, that's the best solution possible, right? 4 lines, easy, clean, elegant, very nice. I love it.
This one,
Yeah, the one that they proposed. Cool. Last question. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones.
Does that mean that this will go to the beginner's challenge?
Yes. That's sorry. At the beginning, I thought I was mentioning that we should pay attention to the details. Actually, that's the question I was thinking about. Find even numbers. We have a list of numbers, and we just want to get the even ones, right? Sounds easy, right? Sounds, at least from a human point of view, like, okay, out of a list of these numbers, get 4 and 6 because they are the only even ones, right? Let's start working on it. Function, find even numbers. So we have numbers, pure, it's one number, right, in reality, but let's call it numbers. So then, again, the same thing again, right? So return numbers, first of all, to string. Once we got a string of numbers split, so we got an array of individual digits. Then, because I want to calculate even, odds, all the things, I'm going to again convert them to number. And then I'm going to reduce. So find even numbers. Essentially, what I want to do is I want to have an array of numbers. So even numbers, and then digit. And then the initial value will be an empty array. But because we don't want an empty array, we want a number back. So I'll join it to get a string, but because we want a number, I'll surround everything with number. What?
Rather than reduce, just use filter.
Or filter, yeah, fair enough. You can use filter, yeah. I mean, again, yeah. Let's use filter if you want, yeah. So with filter, yeah, we got here digits, right? So then we want to keep the digit if it's even. How do we check if a digit is even? Well, modulus, remind 2 equals 0, right? Yeah, easy. Will this work? No.
Depends what we're trying to do.
That,
We need to sort again at the end.
delete what?
It's asking us to sort from.
That's correct. That's the first problem. We have to sort the elements descendantly, right? So we can do that. We can add a new line, sort. So then we got digit A, comma, digit B, because we want to put the biggest one on top.
There's one other condition. We remove the digit.
Yeah, I'll go there in a minute. Digit A. Right. And then you can see how sexy sometimes JavaScript can be, right? Sometimes. Look at the way we chain instructions. String, split, map, filter, sort, join. It's like a sequence of actions, right? So even though that's pretty elegant, it works sometimes. But, right? Why this is not working? Because if a number, there's a typo here, shows multiple times, then just displayed once. So there are multiple ways to remove the duplicates, multiple ways. I'm going to show you what, in my opinion, is the sexiest one, the best way to remove duplicates. This is modern JavaScript. This is something that, because of a reason, the majority of the developers don't know, but I'll tell you how to do it. So let me keep the array. So I'll go back to the number and join and all these things, right? I just want to have an array. At this stage, I have an array, so let me create a variable. Let even numbers equals, right? I got an array of even numbers, sorted already and everything. But now I want to remove the duplicates. So there is a new data structure in JavaScript called set. So as a set is a collection of unique values. So set accepts an array. Ooh, looking interesting, right? Because it accepts an array, we can do that. That won't work yet. Yeah. So that won't work yet. But that's the idea, right? If you set, you can pass an array, and set will automatically remove the duplicates at some point. The problem is, first of all, to invoke it, you need to do that. New set. Not a big deal. But even though, the problem now is that what is new set returning? Is it returning an array? Not really. It returns a collection. It returns something that looks like an array, something we can iterate. You remember for in, for of, iterable, enumerable, all these things. It's something that looks like an array, but it's not an array. It's a kind of a comma-separated list of arguments. Not strictly speaking, of course. Because it looks like a comma-separated list of arguments, we can convert it into an array using ... We spread them, and then with the square brackets, we gather them again. So that's the sexiest structure in JavaScript to transform an array with duplicated values into an array with unique values only. Yeah? New set. And of course, we return it. But that will give us an array of unique values. And we don't want that, right? We want a number. So again, join to get a string, right? And finally, numbers surrounding everything to transform the string into a number. Yeah? Let's see if that works. Yeah, it works. Any question?
When you said he takes all the numbers, put in one,
Takes the array and removes duplicates.
just remove the duplicates.
Yeah, so the input is obvious. The input is, it takes an array and removes the duplicates, as Bala said. The problem is with the output. It doesn't return another array, as we may expect, right? Because if that will return an array, that will be awesome. But that's not how it works. That returns a...
Change the array or not?
It doesn't change the array, as far as I understand. No, it shouldn't change the array.
So it's pure.
It's pure, it should be pure. Yeah, as far as and I'm not 100% sure, but that shouldn't change the array. No. That returns a new, it's not even an array, it returns a new structure, right? With unique values. But then, if we want to keep working with that structure as an array, we have to spread the values of that array ish. And then, yeah, because we got a comma-separated list of arguments, then we can gather them again, capture them using the square bracket notation, right? So that will give us an array of unique values. And because we have an array of unique values, then easily we can do join to create a string, and then we can use number to transform that into an actual number. Right, so that works fine. And so I'll let you see what you did here.
Before you do that, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
I'm still a bit, more traditional language orientated, so I would tend to go for a loop rather than this.
Fair enough.
It's becoming more natural,
Yep.
feeling more elegant, because that's what you're really teaching us most of the time. But I'd still be, so if I wanted to compare, and I wanted to look at the, how much processing time, how much memory, and those, just to start to get a feel for how the two types of programming compare in JavaScript, how would I profile the two algorithms? Is there some stage where you're going to look at that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so there are different ways to analyze performance. We'll do a workshop about that, right? How to analyze performance of an algorithm and how to analyze the performance of a web application. So yeah, we'll do a workshop about that. Cool. So what do you hear, guys? So Daniel converts numbers, and then so this is the type of things that we shouldn't use, right? Parse int. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
So do you know what's the second argument of parse int?
I use it. Doesn't it mean multiple? If you push it out, you get several. So if, for example, you're passing int and there's several values,
Yep.
you get both the values out, all the values out.
I don't think so.
So like with the CSS question
Yeah.
in filter,
Correct.
you have the pixels question, and if you pass int with just the value in it without the 10, you just get 1.
Yep.
But if you do the 10, you get multiple.
I think that's wrong, Poppy.
Okay.
As far as I understand that, the second argument is the radix. Have you heard about the radix? Radix, which is a weird, it looks like a Dragon Ball character. So radix is the, how to explain that? What numeric system are we using? In that case, it's decimal. That means the number is in a scale, in the decimal scale, right? There are other scales, like binary, zeros and ones, right? Yeah, correct, the base. Yeah, correct. But so to me, this feels wrong because of two reasons. First of all, because 10 is the default radix in JavaScript. It's unnecessary. And then, because again, we're using parse int. We shouldn't use parse int. We should use number instead. Yeah? But apart from that, so Daniel is sorting, and then he's using new set, you see, which is pretty much the same thing. Splitting, that's a bit weird, right? So he has an array of numbers, converts into an array of strings, split using a comma, and join, yeah, he need to explain that, same as Itamar, and I'm going to check more solution. He's skip it, right? So, yeah.
I didn't skip it. It just I didn't submit it in time, so it skipped it automatically. I didn't
Yeah.
have anything.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's fine. More. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, as you can see, that's wrong, right? That's wrong because they copied the solution from somewhere, and I don't know who and why, but that's not the way. Say it again. Of course, it looks similar. Look, yeah, just because of that unexpected line, it's the same, right? And probably to give the feeling that it's not the same, some of them, any of them, they add some breakpoints and rename maybe some variables. But you know, I've been working for almost 20 years. I know these things, right? I can easily just looking at the line, I can see that solution is copied from somewhere, because that's I need to spend 2 minutes to understand that. I don't know what that means, right?
So, why a comma?
is it Stack Overflow?
Is it what?
Is it Stack Overflow?
Yeah, I know that's a Stack Overflow. Obviously, that's a Stack Overflow, right? But that's not what we want to do, right? Yep. We'll introduce stricter rules with copy paste and all these things, right? To avoid these kind of problems. But yeah, it's what it is. Right. So, anything else, guys? No? Jonan tried, yes. Yeah, so please spend some time with the expert training. It's not that complicated at the end, right? Eventually, apart from recursion, it's the same thing. Number, split to string, join, reduce, right? The same thing again. Yeah.
Ricardo, can
Yep.
I just check? Was I close?
Can you check your what?
Was I close on the one before?
You were close on the one, question number 4. You
down.
skip question number 5, the last one, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, Jonan. Let me have a quick look to see if I can. So number, string, non-unique numbers, number. Okay, numbers, string, split, map. You transfer into number. Then you keep the events, and then you sort it. So you keep the first one, and then you join it. So here, you got a non-unique numbers result. So I mean, it looks promising, Jonan. The first part, it looks correct to me. So you have an array of non-unique numbers. That's fine. I don't know what you try to do after. Ah, right. So then, I see. So then you iterate again, and then if result, so you don't have the number, then push it. Yeah, I think that's correct. That's correct, Jonan. You just didn't finish.
Yeah.
Actually, we can do something. Do you want to finish Jonan exercise? All right. So let me copy it, and let me paste it. So that won't work, right? 6 minutes left. So that won't work. And now, yeah, so we got some syntax errors. There is like, oh, yeah, so, right. So let's try to solve the syntax errors first. So for if, things like that. Unexpected token, yeah, I can see that, right? So, if we, you need to close another parenthesis here, then we test it, then find even numbers. Oh, has too many statements. Fine, let's ignore these details. I is not defined, so let's do let I, right? Find even too many statements, fair enough. So then, your main problem, Jonan, is, yes, that array looks good to me, right, from the distance. But now, because what we want is actually a number, we need to return array dot to string. So we have a string. No, sorry, not to string, excuse me. Dot join to have a string, right? And then, because we actually want a number, we can put number in front of it.
Yeah. Cool. So it's almost, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. Let's try that. Ooh, that's not correct yet. So yeah, obviously maybe something wrong. Leave at the beginning. Let's try to add some console log to see what it does return. Right, so 64840. That's actually the first part is correct. Interestingly, that's correct. Oh, because yeah. So in the loop, in the for loop, so that's, you see, can anyone see the problem in the for loop? From 0 to length minus 1, right? Right, because length, we start on index 0, right? So that's one thing. Let's try that again. Right, still doesn't work. So there's still something wrong here. Let me have a look. Let I equal 0 unless that non-unique numbers dot length I plus plus. If result doesn't include that number, then push it, and then result. I cannot see the problem, to be honest. So let me put another console log with the result. I'm sure you're close to get the solution. So I think it's never running that condition, right?
Okay, right. So it's the conditions messed
the
up.
condition, yeah, but I cannot actually see the problem.
Is it too many parentheses?
Maybe. No, actually that looks correct. So I believe I put the console log here. It will never run. That's my feeling. That's correct. So that condition is never met. So then I would like to analyze. So the include thingy, it doesn't work well. And that's a good point. I don't really know why. So let me have a look.
Non-includes numbers is number, and result is the result a string array.
Right.
So that's the number array. That's a number.
Yeah.
And result, I think, is a string array.
Yeah, but the result is an empty array. So why that condition is never met? Because at the beginning, result is an empty array, but at some point, if that condition was met, at some point we'll start adding elements. The problem is that always return false. So why that always return false? Oh, wait a minute. So it looks like that console log is never running. Yeah, so that's the problem is here. Not unique numbers. Is that an array? There's a problem there. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, it's a number. Oh, wait. Not. Oh, of course. So that's a number. You cannot do that. You cannot do numbers of length. You need to do two string, right? And once you got the string, then you can get the length. And now, yeah. So replace.
You can copy it, Slack it to me, and I'll do it. I'll look at it on the.
Yeah, technically speaking, we don't need non-unique numbers. That's a number. You can do the. You can get the length right of a string, so that should work. I mean, it's pretty.
Tools, I can try.
It's pretty close, Jonan.
Can you copy that and Slack it to me?
Yes, I can copy and Slack it to you. Yes. It's a pity because, yeah, it looks pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it timeout, right? But yeah. I'm pretty sure at some point you have found the solution. Yeah, I'll send it to you, the snippet, right?
Thank you very much.
Cool. Anything else, guys? No? Cool. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. So thank you very much. Cheers.